I think it's critical we continue to talk and listen to everyone involved. We've talked a lot with communities about their concerns, and in Burnaby, the feedback was to look at routing the pipeline through Burnaby Mountain, not through their streets and neighborhood.
Ian Anderson, president of Kinder Morgan Canada, joining us here on the BT Couch. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here, taking a look at that video. You're promoting the idea of healthy dialogue on what has become a very contentious issue here in BC. There's lots to be said, and as we dive right in, the great debate has been economy versus environment and the pros and cons of each side. Why is this pipeline project a risk worth taking?
Well, I think that as a pipeline operator, we've been here for 60 years. We know the risks. We understand what pipeline maintenance and operations require us to do. The regulator is highly involved in every aspect of our business. The public safety net exists, whether that's first responders, whether it's our operating people or others in the field. So I think the risks are very, very manageable. And the benefits are, as we've said, significant for the country and not insignificant for the province and the communities.
The risks are great for the environment, and you have quite the task to build truth or trust and confidence with the people with the pipeline project and this culture of safety. We've talked we've heard the company relay this message. How do you create that? Because many of the critics, including members from the First Nations community, are saying an oil spill, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And given the track record of some of the oil spills, Burnaby 2007 stands out. How can you assure, and how have things changed with the responses with the company?
I think 2007 was a turning point for us. It was a third-party contract from the city who hit our pipe. We reflected not only on my company but the industry very deeply at that point in time on our systems, our procedures, our protocols, and the communication we're making with the public about the programs we have, the location of pipelines, what we're doing to protect them. So that has ramped up significantly over the course of the last decade. Stuff has become much more visual, much more aware. But what has caused, I think, is the public focus is so much more now on consequence than on the true risk.
Well, the consequences
are significant.
They are significant, and if we look at Burnaby, what, $15 million worth of damage, there were evacuations, and a lot of the critique was around the response time, what, 17 hours to have a cleanup crew on site. How has that changed? If we are in a worst-case scenario, how can they be assured that they will be protected?
We've got more resources on the ground. We've got tighter controls around shutdown and operating procedures. You say 15 million, it was actually about 21 million. We paid all of that. We repaired the community. We put people up in temporary accommodations. And the community today, it looks as good as it did before. So we took the responsibility. We're not here just to build a project. We're here for decades to operate. So we've got a vested interest in those communities. And we like to listen as well. I want to hear from communities tell me what's their primary concern. What do they think their greatest worry is, and factor that into our planning and approach as well.
Well, there are a great deal of concerns. This is what we saw with the protests atop of Burnaby Mountain. I mean, people were very vocal. They're very passionate about the risks associated with this. Now, Burnaby City Hall has said the RCMP policing costs of this are significant. Mayor Derek Corrigan of Burnaby said it could be around the range of $1 million. If there is an official request made to Kinder Morgan, will the company cover the policing costs of this protest and future protests as the project unfolds?
First of all, policing is a city responsibility. Secondly, we pay our taxes in Burnaby and every other city for civic services just like anybody else does. It's a matter for the city to consider and to deal with.
But does the company not feel any sense of responsibility? Did you not anticipate there would be this type of opposition given the nature of the project?
Well, I mean, that's the wedge on it. You know, that's the wedge issue. It's kind of what drove those costs. And we were very supportive of and very accommodating to peaceful protests. And this peaceful protest didn't cause the cost to occur. It was a civil disobedience. So it was the protesters who decided to break the injunction and break the law that caused the cost to occur. So we can't say that the protesters caused it. A small group of the protesters caused those costs to incur. And that's a municipal responsibility.
With trust and confidence in this issue and in the objective of healthy dialogue, liability really comes into play. And the idea of creating a project that will triple the carrying capacity of the current system means a great deal more of tanker traffic in the coast off of Vancouver here. Where does that liability fall? If there's an oil spill in the waters, how does this work, and will Kinder Morgan step in to help repair the ecosystem?
Well, there's two parts to it. There's the water side and the land side. We carry today in excess of $750 million of liability coverage plus cash on hand. So if anything happens on the land, we're responsible for stepping in and remediating and cleaning it up, and we got more than adequate insurance to do that. On the water side, it's different. There's international protocols, there's national protocols in place that today provide for well over $1 billion of coverage, and the federal government has already said recently that they're lifting their cap. Theirs was capped at a certain amount of that $1 billion. They're eliminating that cap. So they will step in and cover whatever is required on the water side and then recoup it through future fees from shipping companies. So we're satisfied that both our operations as well as government agencies and federal authorities recognize there is a risk, recognize the consequence could be severe, and we must ensure there's adequate insurance and liability coverage in place to protect it so that the residents of BC are never exposed to that cost.
Well, this discussion is going to continue on many levels. You are open to taking even more questions. Transmountain.com is the website to register at. By noon today, there's a telephone town hall going on. If you're watching at home and you want to have your questions answered by Ian and the Kinder Morgan crew, you can do just that. Thanks for coming on to address this.
You're more than welcome.